Sue Smith sitting in for Aaron Rand. I will be here all week, and it's great to spend these afternoons with you. So we're going to talk about measles and rabies today. Quebec says its latest measles outbreak is over. So that outbreak started at the beginning of June. A total of 28 cases were reported, and apparently it was the fourth outbreak since 2024. Dr. Chris Labos is a cardiologist and an epidemiologist and a regular contributor on CJAD, and he's also on every Sunday on Weekends with Joanne Vrakas at 7:20 a.m. But right now, he's here with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So what do you think about this latest measles outbreak?
Well, I mean, good that it's officially over. Officially means there haven't been any new cases in the past month. So that's all well and good. I mean, the larger story, though, is the unfortunate reality that we find ourselves in Canada, where we're we already have domestic transmission of measles. So whereas we had achieved measles elimination status back at the turn of the millennium, right? So for 20-some years, there was no measles in Canada. You would occasionally have small outbreaks caused by travel. So unvaccinated people would travel to other parts of the world, get measles, come back, and there would be mini outbreaks, some of them larger than others. But there was never sustained spread. The problem now that we're having with Canada is we have lost our official measles elimination status because we had one full year of constant measles cases. And while the current outbreak in Quebec is over, there's still measles circulating. And unless we can get our vaccination rates back up, these sorts of things are going to keep happening repetitively.
I mean, I remember, I think, talking with you when we were both on Weekends with Joanne Vrakas, and Canada was like number one in the world with measles. And to be fair, it's mostly Quebec and Alberta, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it ebbs and flows, right? And this is what happens with every outbreak. It's not constant anywhere. So it started in Quebec, and then Ontario and Alberta were sort of major provinces because they have large pockets of unvaccinated people, especially in specific communities, like the Mennonite community was one in Ontario, to just give an example. So there were issues of having pockets of unvaccinated people. And because measles is so contagious, once the virus enters the community, it spreads very, very quickly, and that's why the cases surged as much as it did. So, cases might be on the downslope now, and we haven't had a new case in the past month, but that doesn't mean it can't recur. And this is the difficulty with measles, is that you can eliminate it. If you maintain a high vaccination rate, you can make measles go away. We've proven that to ourselves because we've done it before. The problem is you have to maintain a high vaccination rate because there's always new babies being born that are not immune to measles. And unless you vaccinate them, they get sick, and they contribute to these outbreaks.
Yeah. All right. So that's the message. Get vaccinated. Can we talk about rabies for a minute, Dr. Labos? Because I've been absolutely kind of morbidly fascinated. Because there was a woman in Quebec from Godmaster. I spoke to her last week. She was attacked by a cat. I mean, like, it sounded like a really brutal attack, and the cat would not let go. That she and the paramedic and another little girl got bitten. And they had the antidote pretty quickly. But in our newscast, Jason Mayoff kept saying rabies is 100% fatal in humans. And so I just wondered, about, disease transmission and what is it? Like, how does it work so quickly, and why is it so fatal?
Well, yeah, it's fatal because it's probably one of the worst diseases that you can possibly have. It has a 100% fatality rate if symptoms develop, right? So the key is if you're potentially exposed to rabies, meaning if you were bitten or even scratched, but mostly bitten by a wild animal whose rabies status you don't know, go and get the rabies shot. I mean, that's the take-home message here, because rabies used to be very, very common. People used to die of rabies all the time. But once we started vaccinating our animals and also ourselves against rabies, it goes away. I mean, the number one transmitter of rabies globally are dogs. But that's not the reality here in Canada because most of our dogs are pets. There's very few wild dogs roaming around, and we vaccinate our pets. So dogs are no longer the major carrier. It tends to be wild animals like skunks, raccoons, etc. But they can occasionally bite and infect another animal like a cat, and then that cat is a carrier of rabies. And if that cat bites you and transmits the virus to you via its saliva, you could catch rabies. And that's, there have been, 18 months ago, I don't know if you remember the story, there was a young boy from Ontario who was bitten by a bat, and the parents didn't really think much of it. He ended up dying of rabies because he didn't get the rabies shot.
And so how soon do you have to act with the rabies shot?
Well, as soon as possible. There's a certain incubation period, right? So from the point where the animal bites you until you develop symptoms, a certain amount of time is going to pass. There is some variability there from person to person. But the point is, go and get vaccinated as quickly as possible. I mean, it's not a question of hours, obviously, but I mean, it's days to potentially weeks. I mean, it's about 10 days is sort of like the average. But the point is, get vaccinated as soon as possible. If there is even a suspicion that you might have been bitten or scratched by an animal, then that's the indication. I mean, just to harken back to this case from Ontario. A bat got into the child's room, and then the parents found the bat the next morning, and they were like, well, our child seems okay. And you might think to yourself, how would you not know if you were bitten by a bat?
Yeah.
Well, the reality is you may not know, right? A bat bite could be a very, very small thing, and the child, slept through it. So if you come into contact with a wild animal, especially an animal that is behaving abnormally, and if there's a chance that you might have been bitten, go seek medical attention, because a rabies shot, could potentially save your life.
I guess the abnormal part is my mind is hooked on, because it is kind of like the zombie thing, like something about, I don't know if it's the epidemiology of the disease, but something about when you're infected by rabies, it actually makes you like bloodthirsty. It makes you want to go out and bite other people so that you spread the disease. So it's like rabies propagates itself by, making the person that it infects really want to bite people.
Well, yeah, it's sort of. I have to admit, every science fiction writer, the minute they find out about rabies, they end up using it as sort of the vehicle for their sci-fi thriller, right? Because
foaming at the mouth.
Well, that's the thing, because there are things about rabies that are eerily reminiscent of vampires, right? Yeah. So you become a little bit photosensitive. You also develop this phobia of water because it's actually very painful to swallow. So you try to offer water to patients and they have this instinctive response against it. So if you were writing a sci-fi thriller, sensitive to sunlight, afraid of running water, acting a little bit crazy, wanting to bite people, there's a lot there that would make for a very good, you could use rabies as a substitute for magic if you wanted to write a story about vampires, let's say. So all of these things are sort of true, but they do tend to get exaggerated a little bit in pop culture and in modern cinema.
All right. So measles, get vaccinated. Rabies, get vaccinated.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Dr. Labos.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.